Over the past 7 years, Mojang has brought hundreds of new items and features to Minecraft, but a few specific items have caused Mojang to rethink the entire structure and progression of the game. Here's why. Let's go back to February 29th, 2016, the combat update. This update was pretty huge after a drought of updates since 1.8, 2 years prior, and made huge changes to the game with a new combat system and a revamped end dimension. With this, the elytra was introduced, but it works differently than what it does today. Back in version 1.9, players had to use bow boosting to allow for infinite flight. This could be done with a punch enchantment. So this infinite flight mechanic was game breaking, and it made traversing the landscape way easier than in previous releases of the game. However, Mojang began toying with a feature where rockets could propel players with elytras, and it got a mostly positive reaction. I feel that this forum post from late 2016 sums it up pretty well. Quote, "I'm curious what everyone thinks of this. Personally, I'm 50-50. It's OP, but at the same time very useful." The forum post also mentions that it, quote, "will result in the finding of end cities and ships twice or 3 times as fast," which definitely did turn out to be true. You see, once you get your first elytra, which really isn't that hard, you can travel around the end with your rockets, finding more elytras and loot anywhere you go. The only real threat would be your elytra breaking in midair, but we'll talk about that later. So in version 1.11.2, this mechanic was fully added, making elytras a lot faster and more practical. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Another extremely impactful item was introduced in the 1.9 update, the mending book. Remember what I said about the threat of elytras breaking in midair? Well, that wasn't even much of a problem due to mending. It completely removed the need to create new tools and armor, and to really keep collecting resources like diamonds and netherite once late game has been reached. I don't know, it just seems like it removes an aspect of difficulty from the game once you get the enchantment from fishing, trading, or looting places around the world. The trend continued with extremely game-changing items, with the Totem of Undying being released in 1.11, and here is where it gets quite problematic. Minecraft survival mode is about, well, survival, and totems make it so you can't die. So I get that it's rewarding to get a rare item like this from traveling through a woodland mansion or completing a raid that takes a significant amount of time to finish, but the Totem of Undying is farmable. So what I'm saying is that you can literally get infinite lives pretty early on in the game, where Minecraft feels quite unbalanced. But the mode that gets most affected by this is certainly hardcore. In hardcore mode, if you die just once, your world is lost and you cannot ever respawn. So then, why did Mojang add an item that allows you to basically respawn in hardcore, but with all your stuff still on you? That's exactly what the Totem of Undying is when you think about it. I'm not sure if Mojang is ever going to do anything about this item, but in my opinion, it's very unbalanced. So Mojang has been aware of some of the general balancing issues and has been making some changes to combat it. They appear to have 2 main approaches to solve this. The first one is to add more late game content. This way, players who have gotten items like elytras, mending, totems, and maxed out armor still have challenges in the game. One example of this is the addition of the Warden and the Ancient City. These 2 late game features were challenging enough for it to still be engaging for late game players. Also, they made the Warden pretty scary, which is not something that you can say for many other Minecraft mobs. Their second approach is to make valuable items take longer to get by nerfing their mechanics. In version 1.20, Mojang nerfed the process a player has to go through to make their diamond gear into netherite. They now require players to locate netherite smithing templates and bastions and duplicate them with multiple diamonds. This new system makes netherite, which is a late game item, harder to obtain. To be honest, I find this change pretty frustrating, because it doesn't make the process any more fun, just more lengthy for the sake of making it longer to attain. In Snapshot 23W31A, Mojang has been testing a new villager mechanic, where villager traits depend on the biome type. However, the type of villager that sells mending is unfortunately a swamp villager, which you can't even find naturally. So far, the general reaction to this possible nerf is mixed. It prevents players from getting overpowered enchantments 20 minutes into the game, but it could also make villagers even more frustrating. Overall, I think that Mojang has the right goal in mind to rebalance the game, and hopefully they will make sure to add balanced items from the start so they don't have to make nerfs to existing items in the future.